So it is a great gift of the tradition of sabbaticals in the context of Unitarian Universalist ministry that there is no product required. What I mean is that sabbatical time is truly meant to be a time for spiritual renewal, a time for exploring and going to the limits of our longings, as Rilke says. And what that looks like can vary wildly depending on the minister and their particular context. I have to say that since, like all of you, I live in this world that expects products and production, and very often our value in society is determined by what we produce, it is a little uncomfortable for me coming back from sabbatical essentially empty-handed. I feel like I need to have something pretty and polished to turn in to all of you. Yes, I took some classes and I read some books, and I'm sure I'll be sharing bits of those learnings with you as the weeks unfold. And I also just lived my life as a parent and as a person, trying to make my way through this wild time that we are all in. All I have as I return is myself and my heart, empty-handed, and certainly not always pretty and polished. In fact, I'd say that last spring, my heart was feeling pretty closed and tired and getting pretty cranky. So in a little bit better shape now, I am happy to share with you. So I believe that ministry is not about product so much as it is about process and presence. And I don't mean just my ministry, but our ministry with one another. About being faithfully on a path. About keeping a heart open to the promptings of the Spirit. So I thought of my sabbatical time as a time of wandering some less well-worn paths, maybe even some neglected paths in my life. A kind of pilgrimage of sorts, even though I was mostly at home during my sabbatical. The great 20th century Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote this book of essays called Moral Grandeur and Spiritual Audacity. How's that for a title? But in that book of essays, he said, human faith is never final, never an arrival, but rather an endless pilgrimage, a being on the way. We have no answers to all problems. And later in that book, he says, faith is not the clinging to a shrine, but the endless, tameless pilgrimage of hearts. It is audacious longing, calling, burning songs, daring thoughts, an impulse overwhelming the heart, usurping the mind. Now, however you define faith for yourself, and we define it differently within this congregation, faith in humanity, faith in the spirit of life to ever renew us, faith in the beauty and goodness and cycles of creation, faith in your higher power, your God. However you define your faith, I venture to guess, I would place money that this last year has tested it, has made you question, has maybe even brought you to your knees in despair or exhaustion, not sure that you could go on. My understanding of Heschel's description of faith is that it is not about having an easy answer to cling to, or even the assurance that everything will be okay. This is certainly the more commonly held approach to faith in our tradition of Unitarian Universalism. Faith arises through the endless, tameless journey. It is not the destination. In fact, Heschel says the only arrival is death, the end of our life journey. And so those times when we wonder if we can go on are the very creators of faith, if we let them be, by just opening to what that experience is for us and what it has to teach us. Faith is a project of the heart, not just the mind. Keeping hearts open, paying attention to the longings and the callings of our hearts. And I love that Heschel also says very specifically that faith is a pilgrimage of hearts, hearts plural, not singular hearts, not hearts alone by themselves, but hearts together. As a covenantal faith, we, yous, believe this too. We discover the deepest meanings of life when we journey in the company of others. Each one of us holds a piece of the truth, and we help each other keep going. Last spring, in my last message to you before my sabbatical season, I said this. I said, I invite you to think of this sabbatical as continuing on the journey. I've just taken a different fork in the road for a while, and we'll come back together to share what we've seen and experienced. I said, I have every confidence that you will be fine in my absence. And I said, my one request of you all during my sabbatical is that you continue to show up for each other and show up with love for the unexpected things that happen when we stay on this journey together. And as far as I've heard in this last week, you all have done just that. And for that, I am so grateful and proud. As I return from this sabbatical, I am falling into rhythm next to you on the path. I am not returning with a specific map for what lies ahead, just a heart a bit more open and generous than it felt in March. And perhaps this was, for me, the most important gift of my sabbatical time, space to rediscover this open heart with a different kind of time away from the expectations and concerns of the congregation. I certainly experienced more generosity of heart with my family than I have in a long time. And with more time outdoors, gardening and hiking and playing, I experienced a groundedness in myself, with my relationship with the earth, a groundedness with the creative force of life that calls my heart. So my desire and my intention for myself as I re-enter the path with you all is to double down on those practices that help me sustain that generosity and groundedness. And just like I am not the same person I was when I started out my sabbatical, I'm sure you aren't either. Some things have changed, and I want to hear from you. I am serious when I say I am curious about how you are and who we are now together. Where is our energy? And I am serious when I say that whatever your answer is about where you are now and where your energy is now, that answer is okay. The point of being on a spiritual journey, a journey of faith, is not that we just keep going to keep going, but that we keep going with an open heart so that the journey is life-giving for ourselves and for those we are journeying with. So this year, I want us all to be considering, what is it that helps you keep going with an open heart in a life-giving way? What are you longing for your own life and for our collective life in Blount County and our collective life on this planet? Given the context that we are living in, what will be life-giving? The poem by the German mystic, Christian mystic poet, Rainier Maria Rilke, that we listened to a few moments ago, was an important guiding one for me during sabbatical, and it will continue to be. In it, Rilke imagines the message that we each receive as we arrive in this world from out of the mystery and are sent, as he says, out beyond our own recall. To live as a human being in this world is to experience from time to time, or perhaps much of the time, perhaps most of our lives, a forgetfulness about our own purpose, our own sacredness, our own connection to source. What helps us remember? Rilke says, the message we dimly hear is this: let everything happen to you. Go to the limits of your longing. Let everything happen to you. Beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me. Nearby is the country they call life. You will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. I've said it before many times, and frankly, I'm tired of saying it, but it is true and real, and there are those in this world who would like to distract us from what is true and real. It is true and real that we are in a time of great uncertainty and anxiety and change. Let everything happen to us. Yes, it's COVID, but also soon to be irreversible climate change, the greatest displacement of people and migration that the planet has ever seen, and deep political polarization in many countries, not just ours. So I come back from sabbatical ready again to simply be with you in the reality of all of that. How do we live our small lives in the context of these great big forces? After almost 9 years with this congregation, I am clear once again that the best way not some other minister, but the best way I can be of service to our community as your minister is to support us in staying on the journey of faith with open hearts and connected to each other and the source of life, what gives us life, that which gives us beauty and joy and life. So I offer you my heart, my empty hands, so that we might keep going together. May it be so. Amen.